It is my honor to warmly welcome you to this commemorative ceremony marking the inscription of the Derek Walcott Library on the UNESCO Memory of the World Regional Register for Latin America and the Caribbean. Today is a moment of deep pride, not only for the college, but for St. Lucia and the wider Caribbean. The UNESCO Memory of the World program exists to safeguard documentary heritage of outstanding value, material that tell the story of who we are, where we come from, and how our ideas shape the world. And we gather today not just to commemorate an inscription, but to reaffirm our responsibility as educators, students, and citizens to preserve memory, to value knowledge, and to honor the power of the written word. I want to add that this does not just have resonance with the college. It affirms for us as a country that the intellectual and creative legacy preserved within its collections has regional and global significance. And there was some work on the part of our own staff at the Hunter J. Fassoir Library that made this a reality. And to give us more context on that, I want to invite our head librarian, Mrs. Kathy Birch-McDiarmid, who has been instrumental in the stewardship and development of the Derek Walcott Library.
It is truly my pleasure to welcome you as we gather to celebrate a moment of significance, not only for the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, but for St. Lucia, as Mrs. Fannis indicated, and also the wider Caribbean. Today we honor an inscription of the personal library collection of Sir Derek Alton Walcott, which affirms the value of our documentary heritage and the stories it holds. As we recognize this library collection, let us all pause to reflect on what it truly represents for each of us. To some, it may seem to be simply a collection of books, papers, or archives, but it's far more than that. It is a record of Sir Derek Walcott's mind and world, and through it, we come to better understand ourselves and the society that shaped him. And so, as we celebrate, I invite us to consider three simple but important ideas. First, we must understand what documentary heritage is and why it matters. Too often, these materials are seen as old records, tucked away and rarely revisited. But in truth, they are living resources. They support research, inspire creativity, and ground us in our history. They connect generations. This speaks directly to the global call for quality education and cultural preservation, as reflected in UNESCO's Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal number 4 on education and Goal 11 on safeguarding cultural heritage. Second, our understanding must lead to action. If we value our documentary heritage, then we must move to protect it. This means developing clear policies and legislation that recognize its importance and ensure its preservation. Without this, we risk losing irreplaceable pieces of our story. Here we are also contributing to Goal 16, building strong institutions that protect and preserve our collective memory. Mrs. Symphorian, I am connecting UNESCO's Sustainable Development Goals, and I hope we can all appreciate that. And third, we must ensure sustainability, access, and visibility. It is not enough to hold a collection and keep it to ourselves. It is not enough to preserve. We must also share. We must build and support the structures that allow programs like the Memory of the World to thrive in our region. We must make these collections accessible, not just to scholars, but to our communities, our students, and our future generations. In doing so, we support inclusive access to information and knowledge, aligning with Goal 9 and Goal 17 through innovation and partnerships. The inscription of Sir Derek Walcott's personal home library collection on UNESCO's Memory of the World Register for Latin America and the Caribbean is a reminder of what is possible when commitment meets vision. But it is also a call to continue the work, to strengthen our efforts, and to ensure that our documentary heritage is not only preserved, but understood, valued, and used. The MOLAC program has made meaningful progress in St. Lucia under the stewardship of Secretary General Mrs. Marcia Symphorian, and with the leadership of past presidents, whom I now acknowledge, Mrs. Margot Thomas. I look forward to working closely with UNESCO national commissions throughout the region to ensure that our Caribbean history is not only celebrated, but protected and well documented. I would like to take a moment, if you will allow me, to acknowledge a few individuals whose contributions have been instrumental to this achievement. Dr. Keith Nurse, who facilitated the development of this space, which today houses this remarkable collection. Our current Board of Governors, under the chairmanship of Mr. Cletus Springer, and Principal Dr. Marjorie Jameson Charles, for their continued support and commitment to this library's growth. Ms. Karine Snack, whose architectural guidance continues to shape this space and whose work you will see reflected as we unveil the plaque. I also keep giving thanks to my good friend, Ms. Sigrid Nama. We have developed a very special relationship over time. Thank you, Sigrid. I also recognize, and I must recognize, and I save the best for last, the dedicated efforts of the library staff who cataloged this collection and made it accessible to the world through our online catalog. Library staff, where are you? They're busy working at the back. And special thanks to Mrs. Avril Gabriel. Avril, could you come up, please? Special thanks to Mrs. Avril Gabriel, the face behind, well, she's not behind the scenes because she is our Assistant Librarian for Public Services, but she worked on the application. Mrs. Fannis did to the work that happened. We didn't just arrive here. There was a lot of work that went into the application process, and I charged Mrs. Gabriel with the application form and that process. And so thank you very much, Mrs. Gabriel, for your meticulous work on the application that got us here today. Thank you. So as we move through this ceremony, let us celebrate with pride. Let us recognize the significance of this moment, not just for us, not just for St. Lucia, not even just for the Caribbean. But most importantly, let us leave with a shared responsibility to safeguard the records of our past, be it in your offices, in your homes, wherever they exist, and the structures. Let us agree to work to protect and uphold the structures that uphold those collections so they may continue to inform and inspire our future. Thank you and welcome.
Kathy forced me to sit through a workshop because she serves as, remind me of the designation, Vice President of the Memory of the World. And that's why her staff had to take it. But she insisted, because it is a very long process, that the college help facilitate a workshop. And I facilitated that. So it was indeed a lot of work. So congratulations to the library staff on accomplishing this feat of an application and for putting the Derek Walcott Library where it is today. At this time, we invite special remarks from a distinguished literary voice. Please join me in welcoming Mr. John Robert Lee, poet whose work continues to reflect and shape the Caribbean literary tradition. Mr. Lee.
I want to start off by saying thanks to the principal of the South Louis Community College and librarian Kathy Butch McDiarmid for the invitation to be with you during this important ceremony that memorializes the inscription of the Derek Walcott Library on the UNESCO Memory of the World Regional Register. This recognition affirms the documentary heritage value. In many ways, I'm going to echo what Kathy said. This recognition affirms the documentary heritage value of Sir Derek Walcott's personal library. It acknowledges its importance and significance within UNESCO's global framework for safeguarding collections like this of enduring cultural, literary, and historical importance. We all remain grateful to Ms. Sigrid Nama, a friend of many, many years now, who in 2020 donated Sir Derek's personal library collection to the college, and the library here was opened on January 23rd, 2023. This is one of the most valuable library collections in the world, and I do not exaggerate. The library, its books and art, belong to St. Lucian Nobel laureate Derek Walcott, an international literary figure. The writings of Sir Derek are studied worldwide in several languages. His name is a household one in the universes of arts and literature. His friends and acquaintances were writers of equal fame and renown. Though he left us in 2017, his work is still the subject of critical book-length studies, essays, conferences. Many of his writer friends' books are also here in this place with his own. Derek and his famous friends handled these books, autographed them, gifted them to him. Many of them, like Seamus Heaney, Joseph Brodsky, Arthur Miller, Jamaica Kincaid, other Nobel laureates, among many other famous names, visited him here at his home and sat in his library and in his art studio. In a sense, if you'll allow a certain poetic image, these books in this library were witness to famous friendships and their conversations. There are many in the wider world who would envy such a collection, its origin and history and familiar connections. Apart from that kind of personal, tactile value, as it were, this library and its books are significant financial worth. This place, this Derek Walcott Library, this space, all that it holds of a famous writer's work and that of his contemporaries, as well as what it holds of rare books published in the 19th century, highlights, and I echo Kathy again, the great importance of libraries. Even in this age of AI, digital technology, Kindle, and e-books, and what many claim to be a lamented season of the decline of reading, it highlights the importance of interest in books as books. The South Louis Community College's brave librarian and Ms. Sigrid Nama have placed their firm faith in the importance of libraries. Libraries as sources of knowledge, information in all subject areas, though much of that can now be found online. They affirm their faith in books, their value as objects, repositories of knowledge. But this library, in the island of two Nobel laureates, one of them a literature laureate, who has influenced and encouraged a generation of St. Lucian writers, whose works are well known alongside Walcott's, recognized more outside than at home, this library, through the housing of the Walcott collection, is shouting from the top of Mount Fortune that literary heritage, St. Lucian literary heritage, headed by and led by Derek Alton Walcott, is valuable and important and must be housed and preserved. And in Derek's collection will be found not only well-known fellow laureates and other famous names, but local and Caribbean writers whose work Derek also collected and read. This library makes a special appeal also. I echo Kathy one more time. I didn't read her speech before, but we're librarians together. This library makes a special appeal also for the preservation of our literary heritage, which includes not only literary works of our creative writers, but works of history, journalism, science, biography, and other kinds of writings. In those works of various kinds of literature, are to be found the history of our development from colonialism to independence to where we all are today. And these are important national documents which must be properly preserved. Kudos to Cassie and her staff here. So I take this opportunity to encourage our educational authorities, and if any in the audience today, to give fresh, strong attention to our public school and special libraries, our national archives. And I look forward to seeing renovation work begin soon at the Hunter J. Francois Library, under mold, not far from here, Long Close, where I worked for several years with several people right here, D. Williams and others. My friend here is here, and others who worked together. Cassie worked as a young library assistant there. So many of us go way back. But we want to see that library, I don't know what's the problem, cleaned up, renovated, whatever. Janet Ford, whenever she passes here, she must, she was a librarian at the time. Finally, some thoughts about the enduring legacy of Sir Derek's work. The late Edward Ball, lifelong friend of Derek, Jamaican writer who gave the eulogy at his funeral, and had written much on Derek's work and life, said this in his introduction to a selected poems of Walcott, which he had edited in 2007. And here is Eddie Ball's words. And we're talking about the enduring legacy of Derek's work. And here says Eddie Ball, Walcott is perhaps the most widely acclaimed of the poets who have brought the voice of the Caribbean to the world. In his intense engagement with the local, he has asserted the importance of small places everywhere. His evocation of the sensuous experience of the Caribbean, the modulations of Caribbean light, whether benign, epiphanic, or harsh, the changes of the Caribbean Sea, generous images for apprehending Caribbean experience, for dealing with the pain of history and the colonial legacy of the region, its cultural palimpsest and mosaic. He will always figure commandingly in any consideration of the grappling with that legacy, which has been a major contribution of his generation of Anglophone Caribbean writers. His descriptive mastery of landscape, which draws on his talent as a painter, is always more than mere description, deepening into metaphor. Through his imaginative immersion in great art, he has spoken to central issues of his time, of self and society. And I got this from Eddie's introduction to the selected poems. No one then has captured Derek's legacy better or understood his work as well and deeply as Eddie Ball. And when Derek left us, certainly Sigurd and we all agreed Eddie Ball was the best person to give Derek's eulogy, and he came down. Finally, as we celebrate the inscription of this important Walcott Library, I thought I would end with a short reading from Derek's autobiographical book-length poem, Another Life, 1973, which gives us a glimpse of the epiphanic beginning of the artistic life of this great St. Lucian, where it all began. This calling, this vocation of a writer and artist. This great St. Lucian Caribbean word writer whose library has been gifted to us comes from chapter 7, part 2. The excerpt records where that artistic and literary life was born, and listen, in the hills of Patience Micoud, where Grace Augustine, well-known lawyer figure among us over many years, his father's friend lived. His grandfather's family were from Lafargue-Choiseul. His mother's family had originated from St. Martin. So there's a man whose ancestry was rooted ultimately, well, there were other foreign elements in St. Lucia. But here's the passage from Another Life, which in a sense, we speak of epiphanies and what's the word I want, Paba? Revelations. How does an artist, a writer, come to their vocation? Or there's something in their life that awoken them to that calling. And I think Derek's long poem, autobiographical poem, Another Life, we find this in chapter 7, section 2. About the August of my 14th year, I lost myself somewhere above a valley owned by a spinster farmer, my dead father's friend. That's Grace Augustine of Patience. At the hill's edge, there was a scarp with bushes and boulders stuck in its side. Afternoon light ripened the valley. Rifling smoke climbed from small laborers' houses, and I dissolved into a trance. I was seized by a pity more profound than my young body could bear. I climbed with a laboring smoke. I drowned in laboring breakers of bright cloud. Then uncontrollably, I began to weep inwardly, without tears, with a serene extinction of all sense. I felt compelled to kneel. I wept for nothing and for everything. I wept for the earth of the hill under my knees, for the grass, the pebbles, for the cooking smoke above the laborers' houses like a cry, for unheard avalanches of white cloud, but darker grows the valley, more and more forgetting. For the light still shine through the hovers like litmus. The smoking lamp still slowly says its prayer. The poor still move behind their tinted scrim. The taste of water is still shared everywhere. But in that ship of night, locked in together, through which like chains a little light might leak, something still fastens us forever to the poor. And there we have Derek's calling, as it were, to the poetic vocation, which we celebrate in a sense here today with the library. Thank you very much, everybody.
We now invite you to view a video presentation highlighting the Derek Walcott Library and the journey that has led to this historic UNESCO recognition.
The Derek Walcott Library is the complete and original personal library of our Nobel laureate, Sir Derek Alton Walcott. Spanning the years 1887 to 2023, the collection brings together over 3,000 items, including works he authored, books gifted to him by writers and colleagues, and materials that reflect his lifelong engagement with Caribbean literature, art, performance, history, and global intellectual traditions. The library is, in every sense, a window into the mind and world of one of the most influential literary voices of our time. This journey began with a generous act in January 2020 when Ms. Sigrid Narmer donated Sir Derek's personal book collection to the college. From that moment, the Hunter J. Fasua Library took on the responsibility to manage, preserve, and share this extraordinary body of knowledge. On January 22nd, 2021, during the Nobel Laureate Festival, we unveiled the dedicated space at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College that would eventually become home to the collection. And on January 23rd, 2023, 2 years later, we officially opened the doors to the public. This date symbolically aligns with the birth dates of both Sir Derek Alton Walcott and Sir William Arthur Lewis. Since then, the Derek Walcott Library has grown into a true center of excellence for all patrons. It supports research, inspires cultural enrichment, and engages students, scholars, and visitors from across the Caribbean and the wider region. It is a living space where Walcott's voice continues to guide, challenge, and inspire. In 2025, the library reached a significant milestone. At UNESCO's Memory of the World annual meeting, experts evaluated 71 nominations from 15 countries. St. Lucia's submission was one of only 29 that was approved for inscription into the UNESCO Memory of the World Regional Register. This is a significant achievement for our nation and our Caribbean region. The Memory of the World inscription underscores the unique value of Sir Derek Walcott's personal library as an irreplaceable body of Caribbean and global literary memory. It also stands as a powerful testament to the enduring relevance and importance of libraries as guardians of knowledge, culture, and historical memory. This inscription means that the Derek Walcott Library is now officially recognized as part of the documentary heritage that has shaped the cultural and historical identity of Latin America and the Caribbean. It affirms the importance of preserving Sir Derek's knowledge, creativity, and legacy for future generations, and it positions St. Lucia as a proud custodian of world-class literary heritage. Thank you for listening. We invite the world to engage with the Derek Walcott Library, to learn from it, and to celebrate the enduring legacy of one of St. Lucia's greatest sons.
It is indeed a great privilege and an immense honor for me to deliver remarks on this occasion of this ceremony to mark the inscription of the Derek Walcott Library on the UNESCO Memory of the World Regional Register for Latin America and the Caribbean. For us at the National Commission for UNESCO, this recognition represents a moment of immense pride, and it reaffirms St. Lucia's endearing contribution to the intellectual and cultural heritage of humanity. Documentary heritage constitutes an essential pillar of our collective memory, our legacy, and preserves the knowledge, creativity, and identity of societies across time. And UNESCO's leadership in the field of documentary heritage is anchored in the Memory of the World program established in 1992, with a view to ensure the preservation, access, and visibility of documentary heritage globally. Over the past 3 decades, the program has mobilized governments, memory institutions, civil society, and experts to facilitate the preservation of the world's documentary heritage, promote universal accessibility, and enhance global public awareness of the significance of documentary heritage to social development. The Memory of the World program seeks to highlight the importance of documentary heritage, which is considered as having universal value, and seeks to preserve this heritage for future generations. In that regard, St. Lucia has had the works of both of our Nobel laureates, Sir William Arthur Lewis and Honorable Sir Derek Walcott, inscribed on the International Register of the Memory of the World program. And of course, the works of Roderick Walcott have also been inscribed on the original register. The establishment of the Derek Walcott Library adds to this rich legacy by providing access to this important body of work and presents us with a rare opportunity to immerse ourselves in the genius of Walcott by engaging with his personal collection. The Walcott Library is more than a repository of works. It is a rare and invaluable window into the creative processes, the literary influences, and the intellectual journey of one of the Caribbean's most distinguished sons. When the Regional Committee approved this inscription in 2025, it did so in recognition of the library's exceptional cultural, historical, and literary value. The collection offers scholars and citizens alike a unique opportunity to engage with the works that shaped his imagination and the materials that in turn shaped the literary identity of the Caribbean and has contributed to enriching global literature. I wish to commend the board and faculty of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College for putting forward this nomination, and to congratulate you for securing this inscription. And in particular, I want to single out Ms. McDiarmid, who continues to provide exceptional representation both regionally and internationally. St. Lucia, through the National Memory of the World Committee, and with the support of the National Commission for UNESCO, has over the years made a tremendous contribution to the Memory of the World program and the preservation of our documentary heritage, not only through our national, regional, and international inscriptions, but also including by providing support for the nomination of the West India Committee Archives to the International Memory of the World program. But most notably through our stellar representation on the Memory of the World Committee for Latin America and the Caribbean, serving at the highest levels First with Mrs. Margot Thomas, who served as the president, first president from the Caribbean, and more recently with Mrs. Kathy McDiarmid's election to the vice presidency of the regional committee. I would like to take the opportunity to express my sincere thanks to both of you, as well as the members of the National Memory of the World Committee, for your hard work and dedication to this noble cause and your support over the years. I am pleased to announce, and Kathy will be happy to hear this, that earlier today, the UNESCO Executive Board examined a proposal for the establishment of an International Day for Documentary Heritage. We were talking about that. Yes, quite serendipitous. And the decision was adopted for the observance of the day on November 19th, a date which marks the anniversary of the establishment of the Memory of the World program in 1992. This day will contribute to strengthening global awareness of the indispensable role of documentary heritage in safeguarding humanity's shared memory. It will mobilize member states and partners by encouraging governments, memory institutions, and communities to undertake preservation initiatives, build capacity, and create greater public outreach. It will promote equitable access to documentary heritage, including in its digital form, and reinforce our shared commitment to universal access through digitization. It will support risk reduction and resilience by drawing attention to the vulnerability of collections and promoting disaster preparedness, emergency responses, and sustainable preservation strategies. Finally, it will celebrate the contribution of our memory institutions such as libraries, archives, museums, and community custodians who play a vital role in preserving and providing access to humanity's documentary records. The day will recognize their work and encourage broader societal engagement. This decision by the Executive Board symbolizes UNESCO's long-standing commitment to safeguarding documentary heritage and provides a meaningful anchor for global commemorations. For us, the day will provide a vehicle through which we can continue to advance the work of the National Memory of the World Committee in promoting documentary heritage in St. Lucia. I look forward to the inaugural observance of this International Day of Documentary Heritage in St. Lucia alongside all of you, our partners. In closing, I would like to once again congratulate the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College on this important inscription. The St. Lucia National Commission truly shares the pride of this inscription, which not only creates awareness of the valuable contribution, but recognizes its importance locally, regionally, and internationally. And I want to take the opportunity to encourage the submission of this body of work for the International Register. We would also like to express our appreciation to Sigrid for the generous and selfless donation of this invaluable collection. I wish to reiterate UNESCO's commitment to the preservation of St. Lucia's cultural heritage and the preservation of our documentary heritage. Thank you.
We will now have the official presentation of the certificate, and we invite Principal Marjorie Jameson Charles to accept on behalf of the college.
On behalf of the Regional Committee of the Memory of the World, I am pleased to present the Certificate of Inscription. And just to read very briefly, the Regional Committee for Latin America and the Caribbean of the UNESCO Memory of the World Program certifies the inscription of the Derek Walcott Personal Home Library on the Memory of the World Register for Latin America and the Caribbean, recognizing its significance for the collective memory of Latin America and the Caribbean society.
We're going to segue just a little bit, and we're talking about everything St. Lucian. We have had a group of young men join our college community, and they have brought with them such rhythm at all of our activities. And at this time, I invite you to enjoy some cultural rhythms from some 3 young men from the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College as we continue to celebrate Caribbean expression.